Good morning, Columbia. I'm Rhonda Burgundy. Welcome to your Channel 42 news team. With the current influx of news focusing on Russia, our producers have decided to host a special on the country to provide our viewers with a detailed overview and analysis of Russia using the operational variables of PMISI-PT. Today, our top story is being brought to you by our lead international correspondent, Veronica Corningstone. Veronica and her team will be providing us with a brief overview of the history and geography of Russia. Without further ado, over to you, Veronica.
Thanks, Rhonda. Let's take a deep dive into the history of Russia. Due to the long-term oppression of the serfs and the authoritarian control of the nobles in Russia, the country became a breeding ground for socialist thought, especially when the Tsar's district control began to slip. This, coupled with the outbreak of World War I, where initial defeats caused an economic collapse that led to a revolution by multiple groups of varied political leanings. After a 3-year civil war, the Bolsheviks came out on top and created what would become the USSR. Under Stalin's strict rule, much of the opposition to the Communist Party was purged, and life became strictly regulated. In World War II, despite not being prepared and suffering heavy losses both in people and infrastructure, Russia was able to defeat the German army at Stalingrad, go on the offensive, capture Berlin, and end the war. This victory built Russia to be one of the top world powers along with the United States. After a long standoff with the U.S. during the Cold War, the Soviet Union's economy deteriorated. Mikhail Gorbachev released social controls, followed by the Soviet Union's collapse. Boris Yeltsin, a progressive Democrat, was elected the first president. Yeltsin and his associates' corruption and oligarchy-like control of the country's major economic opportunities, putting their own needs ahead of the nation's, led to a desire among the Russian people for a strong leader to build Russia back to being a major power on the world stage, hence the rise of Vladimir Putin. Now let's focus on the geography. We have Dr. Ben on the phone. Ben is a renowned professor on Russian studies in Saudi Arabia. Ben, please give us a brief overview of the geography of Russia.
Even though Russia is the largest country in the world, Russia has indefensible and unforgettable territory. The core of Russia, which runs from the Volga grain belts up to Moscow proper, is without any geographical barrier. This way, the country has traditionally encrypted its territory to major geographical barriers far from its core, in order to keep foreigner powers distant. This means that Russia's dominance has to reach east across the frozen tundra of Siberia to the Pacific Ocean, southeast to the Tiantian Mountain of Asia, south to the Caucasus Mountain bordering Iran and Turkey, and finally west to the Carpathian Mountains in Central Europe. But there is one major hole in this geographic expanse: the Northern European Plain. The Northern European Plain is a gap between the Carpathian Mountains and the Baltic Sea, which at its narrowest is 300 miles across from Poland. This narrow point, referred to as the Polish Funnel, just west of Warsaw in the north and reach Krakow in the south. Russia has faced 3 major attackers along this axis: Napoleon, Wilhelm II, and Hitler. Russia would prefer to control the lands between Russia and the Polish Funnel and pushing as far west as possible, knowing that once an attacker is past that attach point, it is an open march to Russia's heartland.
Thanks, Ben. That's all for today, folks. Back to you, Rhonda.
That is the news for this evening. Thank you, Team Crush It. Stay classy, SSI.